everybody. Welcome to the Jeremy Shear Show, episode 25. Music. Pokemon, the Rise of Stars, Red music, whatever. Anyway, I can't talk long. We have a special guest I'm going to be interviewing him for this episode. This is the Jeremy Shear Show, episode 25. And we're going to be doing an interview with Sam Harper from the staff at the Pokemon Times I work with, and I'm just going to do a quick interview.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Sam Harper. This is Jeremy on the Jeremy Shear Show, episode 25, and I am delighted that to have you on my show and interview you, and just talk about ask about films and all that kind of stuff and Pokemon. Let's start out first with the nitty-gritty. My first question is for you. What school do you go to and your film major? Tell us more about that.
Well, I go to the Colorado Film School, and I'm doing a writing-directing major. I'm actually going to make one that's about a half hour long. It's probably going to cost about $5,000, and I plan on sending it to Sundance.
Awesome. Okay. Now, my second question is, we're going to get into the base structure here. What is your passion for films, and what's your purpose? What got you into that major?
It's actually kind of interesting. I had to decide between this and marine biology, so it's like two completely different majors, but, I'm a dreamer. I think of, I've got so many different ideas just popping in and out of my head, and, I just want to put them on film so people can see them.
That's really cool. Now for your favorite films, what got you, what got you into your major that made you want to, what inspired you to become a film major?
I guess you could say I inspired myself.
Oh, that's very cool.
Well, actually, also I had a teacher in high school that kind of taught basic video production, and back then I was more or less, I was kind of I thought film was cool, but I was more or less just, I'll study whatever, but, he really actually did show me that, how awesome the film major really are, for the film programs. And that is what I want to do overall.
That's great. Now, for movies in general, just being ridiculous and some that are just great, like, for example, what won Best Picture for Oscars was No Country for Old Men. What do you think of the film industry today in terms of, teen gross films coming out and stuff like that, and what makes the most money? What do you think, how is the film industry doing today, and what is your opinion on that?
Well, I think a lot of the films they're making are just kind of like bread and butter films, like some of these Will Ferrell movies that are just there to make money. They're not really there to show creativity, and, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I want to bring back creativity, really. I know it's there, but I think there needs to be a lot more of it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, now basically we got your bio on film and stuff. We're going to dig a little deeper into the Pokemon Times. You do the quiz show for the show, and being on staff with you and all that, have you ever converted any challenges while being a film major? Have you ever had any challenges while editing and making those things and doing your voice, which Pokemon thing is the greatest thing? How do you, juggle that with everyday life and being a college student?
Well, it's not easy, but I managed to do it. I'll stay up till 2 in the morning, get 3 hours of sleep, and go on with my day. Sometimes that's what you gotta do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Well, that's kind of how Joey and Casey operate, too. They're also very busy people, but they managed to squeeze in their podcast.
Oh, yeah. I just, for me, Joey and I are the same age, and, barely, and we're both juggling, and it's just great that there's this podcast, and it will give you experience on what you want to do for the rest of your life. So,
oh, definitely.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to ask another question. This may be a little challenging for you. For animated movies, action movies, and films such as, one of the greatest films I saw this past weekend that made me want to just, diverge into time travel more, because that's my favorite genre, is Vantage Point. What do you think in terms of what the film industry from animated and all that stuff. What do you think, what Vantage Point did, what do you think the film industry needs in order to get people inspired and, you know, start talking about movies and engaging in our culture and all that kind of stuff?
Are you asking me if I saw the movie?
No. I'm just asking like that format. It kept going back and back and back. Same thing, you know, like Butterfly Effect or Stargate, all that kind of, not sci-fi, but time-twisting, like, metaphors. You know, like how you were talking on the chat room with me, and you're like, I really wish that, like, Pokemon movies had metaphors. Like, what do you think would be the driving force for people to start engaging more in our culture rather than controversial films?
I don't know. I honestly think that if we start introducing more creative films, that's probably going to draw in more audiences. Like, you know, The Golden Compass, for example, it did very well. All these abstract movies, like if they made a Final Fantasy movie, I'm sure it would hit box office.
Absolutely.
You know, even Transformers, I personally didn't like that movie, but it did extremely well because they did kind of, it wasn't just one of these basic, lousy comedies, you know. They were actually trying to convert something, and in this case, they were trying to convert over the anime.
Oh, yeah. And I just think at this point with, like, for example, here's my question that I've been wanting to ask you, the main reason. What do you think of movie licenses? You know, like, for example, I was talking about the Pokemon movies, how WB got involved, and they dropped it, then Disney, then Viz Media. Like, for example, Harry Potter's license to Warner Brothers. What do you think for the licenses, how important do they affect the film and box office and all that stuff? What do you think is the most important part of when it comes to a movie license, and what's the driving force behind that?
You know, I wouldn't really say it's who controls what that affects the box office, because, you know, like Pokemon, for example, everyone's going to see a Pokemon movie no matter who it's owned by, but I do think it's kind of interesting the different effects they do. Like for Pokemon 4, for example, what they did is once it went over to Disney, or so you said, it seemed like, I don't know, it just got a little too happy and sugary, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Like, that's why they got corny, so.
Well, and then they were like, okay, let's take a different step with, like, Destiny Deoxys, where it's a little bit darker. And, you know, I know Pokemon's targeted towards younger audiences, but I also do think they need to kind of appeal to the older audiences. They already do that with the manga. They should possibly have a show on Cartoon Network, like Adult Swim, just kind of a little more geared towards teenagers and adults.
What do you think is the next step PUSA needs to take in order to make the 11th movie just as good as the 10th?
Yeah, one of the things I really liked about the first movie and then Mewtwo Returns is because it actually really did show that Mewtwo's a character. He's not just this blob of DNA, you know? Like, I really think that if they start developing more into the characters, like, okay, you know, Brock's a wannabe pimp, you know? And but, you know, maybe they could start talking about, like, a little bit about his background, and, like, Ash could, I don't know, Ash needs to go completely. They need a new person, but, you know how maybe in a sequel of a movie they'll have different characters, but they might hint at the previous or the next movie? I think that's really interesting. Or a character from a previous movie who had a big role will just play a small role, kind of as a surprise.
Oh yeah, I love that direction they're going to, because I bet in Japan they're all hits. Here they're just like falling apart because they don't know the direction's all going out of haywire.
Well, yeah, the Pokemon movies definitely can afford to get a lot darker. I mean, not like people murdering each other, but like, you know, it's, I know in the anime, or in the Japan movies, they do kind of take that step, and I think that, you know, the industry here needs to kind of chill out and be like, okay, kids can handle a little darker story. It's not going to be that big of a deal. They're not going to become mass murderers.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's great. Well, time is running short, but I really don't want to keep you, and I really appreciate you being here to let me interview you for my show.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So